Okay, so I'm the author of the Lipedema Treatment Guide. So today I want to describe several techniques to reduce stress to you, describe actions that feel relaxing but may increase stress, which is important to know. Describe the findings of the Harvard study of adult development. I was really interested in this. Demonstrate how to cultivate sympathetic joy for others, and demonstrate how to interact with your inner critical voice. So we'll do those two things at the end. I think it's really valuable, especially if you find yourself on these wonderful Facebook groups for people with lipedema and Dercums. So who am I? Why am I up here? I'm a close certified lymphedema therapist. I'm also a certified meditation teacher, board certified massage therapist, and author. So I wanted to start by saying that this conference is an amazing resource. It brings together all the experts from across the country to share information and treatments for lipedema. There's more ideas, more research, more to read. Personally, this has been the most exciting week of my career, and some things are going to come out that I'm really excited about. But in this presentation, I want to make the case for having a little fun. But before I get to these great details, I want to really honor the experience that many of you are having in your bodies and with your lives. That it would be really easy for me to say, you know, here's all the things that you can do, and just like start plugging them into your schedule tomorrow. So I really understand there's a lack of time for a lot of people, a lack of money. There's just exhaustion, and I feel that this week too. I've spent the last 2 weeks being bedside with a friend of the family that was unconscious in the ICU for 2 weeks fighting for his life, so I definitely can feel how this is not a time for me that self-care would be at the top of the list. That's for a lot of you too. You feel self-conscious, pain, overwhelming depression, and then sometimes just really skeptical, like, is it really going to work? So I wanted to bring you, instead of some stuff from a book that I read, how do real people with lipedema and Dercum's disease reduce stress? So I went to our friends. Is anyone here in the Lipedema Sisters USA Facebook group? Yay! So I went there a few months ago and I said, what is your stress-reducing habits? What works for you in your body with your life? And they told me physical activity like exercise, swimming, or yoga, relaxation techniques like meditation, laughing, socializing with others, and I've really seen this. Linda Ann was talking with me. She shared just this feeling in our bodies, many of you out there, from this weekend. There's reading a book, there's Dr. Google, but then there's being in the same room with people who go through the same things that you go through, and that is so valuable. I really respect that FDRS took the time to get these conferences with us every year. It's so beautiful for so many people out here that I've seen. So socializing with others, participating in hobbies like gardening, singing, creating art, and one lady even likes Sudoku puzzles. So it's whatever works for you is what I want to recommend. Also mentioned, we're spending time with pets, gratitude journaling, and taking baths with essential oils or Epsom salts. So if you need any advice on essential oils in your bath, Linda Ann Kahn's right there, and she's got a wonderful resource. So several people mentioned prayer. Liz Ann is one of my friends that I have on Facebook. She reduces stress by being active in her church. She said it keeps her mind busy and active. It keeps her connected to people instead of sitting in her house alone with no interaction with people. And then Cindy, who's my friend, she has a Dercum's disease diagnosis. She has a bird, Taz, and Taz is a Goffin. He is lightweight enough to be on her body. She couldn't take a pet that was heavier, like a cat or a dog. And she can't do most of his self-care, so her husband does help. But the self-care that she does do, she says is therapeutic for her. And I was really interested in the next thing that she said. He's actually certified by her doctor as being an emotional support and pain support animal. So that might be something, as a therapist, as a person with a diagnosis, like if you have a doctor that's willing, you can have your bird do double duty and not just sing prettily. So I want to say that Tammy Caraway earlier today said this way better than I could have, but I wanted to kind of cover what happens when we try to do it all and all at once. So my story was, and I heard this from another meditation teacher, have you ever struggled to bring the groceries in from the car and you knew that you could do it all in one trip? Like you had to do it, you're not going to go back and forth to the car. I see some smiles. Have you seen someone else do this? So it doesn't have to be us. It can be like, oh, I saw someone else do this. The handles are digging into your arms, because you can't like really walk, so like the tin can is like right on your thigh, jabbing, and you're like kind of swinging your arms to move forward, and then like you have like that one finger and the thumb, and you're trying to open the door. So it seems so obvious when we see someone else struggling, but it's hard sometimes to take our own advice. You have to put things down before you open the door. And if we can get a little more deeper into it, what doors do you want to open? And what can you put down in order to go through them? Because sometimes if you want to get somewhere else, if you want to open a new door, you have to put down some things that you're holding on to now. So how is stress harmful to our bodies? Who here likes to read international guidelines on lipedema from different countries, like at 1 o'clock in the morning? Okay, so this is from the first Dutch guidelines on lipedema using the International Classification of Functioning, Disability, and Health. It's 2016 Halk and Damstra. And they say other women exhibit, and they're talking about people with the lipedema diagnosis, other women exhibit a gradual progression of the lipedema, whereas a sudden exacerbation is occasionally provoked by a stressful situation, such as pregnancy and surgery. And this really opened my eyes, because that's one of the questions that I get a lot is, like, what's going to happen to me? Is this a progressive disease? And I deal with clients with lymphedema too. And it's, I see pictures on the internet, because someone went on YouTube at midnight and tried to Google this stuff. And is that going to be me? What can I do? How can I help myself? So how is stress harmful to our bodies? So the next few slides, if I wanted to skate through this, it could be an overview of what scientists have found, but I want to look inside our own bodies instead. So I'm really glad that we did some yoga, so it's not super uncomfortable for me to tell you to like relax and close your eyes and look inside your own body. Let's see if they work. So if you're comfortable, close your eyes. If not, that's fine. Imagine a situation where you felt embarrassed, and that's usually really easily, viscerally for me. Just imagining that feeling through your body for a minute, and then you can open your eyes and come back out of it. Where in your body did you feel that? Was it your shoulders? Was it your back? For me, it's like right here I am with my hand right here. Like it's just right here. So that's how stress affects our bodies, just from a simple 30 seconds of an emotion. It does have a physical effect on our bodies. So how else does stress affect our body? And how else does stress affect our mood? I know when I'm really stressed out, I'm super short with my husband. And I'm not taking care of myself as well with the self-care, and I can feel my body just kind of like tightening up. So according to the Mayo Clinic, I had to bring some experts in at some time, but I'll loop back if I can make this clicker work, and you'll see something really interesting. So according to our experts at the Mayo Clinic, stress management techniques include regular physical activity, relaxation techniques like deep breathing, meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, or getting a massage. I'm a massage therapist by training, so I will recommend massage for everyone. Keeping a sense of humor, so I always try to get a smile out of people and get a smile out of yourself. Socializing with family and friends, and setting aside time for hobbies such as reading a book or listening to music. And then, so I want to go back. Let's see if this works. Does that seem really similar to people in the Lipedema Sisters USA Facebook group telling me it actually works for them. Physical activity, relaxation techniques, laughing and socializing with each other, and participating in their hobbies. So this is something that people with a lipedema diagnosis, people with a Dercum's diagnosis, have already seen that it works for them inside their bodies, and they can fit it into their lifestyles. Let's see if I can get back. Okay, so this is the interesting thing. This is the twist that I want us to get. The Mayo Clinic staff also cautioned inactive ways that we may use to manage stress, such as watching television, surfing the internet, playing video games. They seem relaxing, but they may actually increase your stress over the long term. So this is a study, and that's the link. And you also have this on our app. It's also on my website, the links to this. But this is a very interesting website, and that's a very interesting conclusion, because sometimes you get stressed out and you just want to veg out, and I like Reddit or Instagram, like I just want to like scroll and like not think about things for a minute, but actually that may be increasing my stress over the long term. So we need to go back to these things which are approved, and other people with lipedema and Dercums are telling us this works for them. So the people in the Lipedema USA Sisters group were right. Yay! Yay! You guys are right. Okay, so now I want to talk about the Harvard study of adult development. I feel like my speeches, my presentations here get accepted more easily if I throw stuff like the Mayo Clinic and the Harvard, I don't know. So good relationships keep us happier and healthier. So this was a longitudinal study that they did. So the current study director is Robert Waldinger. He has an excellent TED Talk. So if you like TED Talks, it's titled What Makes a Good Life? So he says it far more eloquently, but the bottom line is that we need social connections. Loneliness actually kills. So what is the key for having a relationship? Because so many times you can be surrounded by a lot of people, and if they don't understand you, it's like you're still alone. So he says, do you feel satisfied with the relationship? And do you feel like you can count on the other person? So those are the two things that we want to see in the quality of relationships. And then again, this is the paper that I got that from the website. And he also has that TED Talk. So now I want to do kind of two practices we can kind of play and experiment with. And one is sympathetic joy and the other is the inner critic. So we're working with that voice in your head that's not kind. It's not a very nice voice all the time. So we're going to see if we can kind of play around playfully with that voice. So my idea is, can sympathetic joy be an antidote to jealousy? So sympathetic joy is the practice of rejoicing at others' happiness and prosperity. It's actually the opposite of jealousy or envy. So what I see when I look on Facebook is these stunning before and after photos, whether they've done a lifestyle change or they've done a lot of surgery. That's not available to many people with a lipedema or Dercum's disease diagnosis. So it depends on each individual person, but sometimes I see the responses are, I'm so jealous of you, my legs are, you're looking so much better than me. And that's kind of like a negative spiral that we can get on and kind of be angry at ourselves after we're looking at these pictures. So what I recommend, what I suggest, and we can practice it, say to yourself things that talk about this sympathetic joy. So I'll say them, and then maybe we can get a picture in a mind of someone that is having a positive experience, and then we'll try it, kind of a little experiment. So the three things that we can say, and you do whichever 3 or 4 or 2 things that you like, find what works for you. I wish that your happiness continues. I wish that your happiness stays with you. And I wish that your happiness grows. So we can think of somebody that is having like just this fantastic result in whatever area of your life. That maybe that little inner voice is like, well, she's so, and I wish, and I need to try harder, and whatever it is that's saying in your voice. And instead, just think of them for a minute, and we'll say, I wish that your happiness continues. I wish that your happiness stays with you. And I wish that your happiness grows. And then kind of see inside yourself, does that quiet down, that inner critic voice? Does it make you feel better about looking at those pictures? So that's a tool. And my other tool comes from Mark Burton. He's a pediatrician and an author, and he shares some tips to handle our inner critics. So this is whatever's going on with you. So often we have that little voice in our head. That's so mean. Like if you were sitting next to your friend and your friend said something and someone walked up and said the things that we say to ourselves inside our head. So ask ourselves, if someone were actually standing next to me and supplying the commentary that I'm hearing in my mind, how would I handle it? Without getting sucked into a debate, each time we notice that inner critic, we can just take a pause. So the first step is just taking a pause. And then we can breathe in and recognize that voice of criticism. Often we don't even recognize it. It just seems like that's part of our personality, and it's not. The inner critic is not actually who we are in our hearts. So we recognize the voice of criticism, whatever it's applying about you or doing to your emotional state. First, we're just going to recognize it, acknowledge that experience, so we're not throwing it away. We're not saying, maybe it's right and rationalizing it. We're just saying, this is how I feel right now. I feel tired. I feel insecure. I feel angry. That's why this inner critic voice is coming up. And then we can breathe out and just let go. Instead of wrestling with our self-judgment, just see it for what it is and turn our attention somewhere more useful than just getting into this 10-minute conversation where we're beating ourselves up in our head. We can focus only on the sensation of breathing as best as we're able. We don't have to strive to become a perfect person that doesn't have an inner critic or force anything. So the breathing in is recognizing that it's happening, and the breathing out is letting it go and not engaging with it. And then we end by just wishing ourselves well, like we would to a close friend in distress. So this comes from Dr. Burton. It's a basic meditation to tame your inner critic, and there's more details on that website. Okay, so that's my spiel, and this is my contact information. So the slides are on that website, and then if you really like Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram. So thank you very much. Thanks.
So we do have a question that came in.
Yay.
Question. How do you overcome guilt as an obstacle?
I know. That's a big one. That's the million-dollar question. I think we just have to be self-aware. So maybe it's not so much like overcome. Let me put down. Because so the emotion is coming. So we want to recognize the emotion. We recognize the emotion, whatever emotion it is. And then, so breathing in, we recognize it. And then breathing out, we have to let it go. So it's not engaging with it, it's the engaging with it in the conversation that drives us deeper into these guilty feelings. Guilt is a legitimate feeling just like anything else. And we just have to be humans being in our bodies and accept all the emotions as they come. And instead of wrestling with the self-judgment, just see it for the feelings that we're feeling, and then be able to breathe it out. But it definitely is an ongoing process. We can't just,
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.